G'day there folks, Connor here again from Marquee Industries, and we're back with some more stories from Reddit. As always, if you enjoy these videos, be sure to hit like and subscribe, and also the notification bell so you never miss an episode. Alrighty, let's get right into it. Alrighty folks, we're on relationship advice. This one was written by user Goblin, I'm not saying that word, and it's titled, "My boyfriend is upset with me because I didn't make his plate and serve it to him during Christmas. Where do I go from here? Our 5-year anniversary is a couple weeks from now and we have a 2-year-old. I didn't know anything was wrong until we started the 5-hour drive home after spending the holidays with my family. He was quiet pretty much the whole way and snapped at me when I asked why he was following too close behind a vehicle and also driving fast. As soon as we get home, he leaves without a word for a couple of hours, gets back and says he went to the mall to buy a couple more gifts and some shoes for himself. I'm annoyed because I've been telling him for weeks to pick out shoes and I'll buy them for his upcoming birthday. He's really hard to shop for and picky about his clothes. So I asked him why he bought himself shoes when I wanted to buy him some as a gift, and he says in a rude tone, "Send me 100 then because that's how much they were." I finally asked him what his problem was and he was upset that I didn't make him a plate. I spent over 4 hours cooking for my whole family. Also cooked for Xmas Eve the day before. I was tired. The holidays are exhausting. I couldn't believe he was upset about that. He seemed annoyed on Boxing Day because we ordered pizza and I made a plate for my stepfather who uses a cane. I told him to make himself a plate and he just sat there. He also said I barely looked at him during our visit, and if I did, I didn't smile or look at him lovingly. Like I said, I was tired. My 2-year-old was also extra clingy, so I felt overstimulated and just tried to be present with my family. Lastly, he was mad because I didn't go sledding with him and my family. I stayed back with my sister and baby niece and we watched a rom-com. I wanted to relax and have some me time, and he was upset about that, saying I just wanted to go on my phone, which I did. I got to watch TikToks and just scroll for a bit. Anyway, after we got home and had this conversation, I left upset and went to have dinner by myself while he took our child for a walk. As soon as I got home, he left again and didn't come back for 4 hours. We've barely spoken, and I don't want to be the one to sit down and start this conversation, to coddle him and make him feel better. I'm so sick of this. Where do I go from here? Geez, this guy sounds really immature, like he's throwing a tantrum over the fact that you didn't make him a Christmas plate. Bro, make it yourself. One comment says, "Why is OP allowing this relationship to continue?" She says, "It's my first long-term relationship, my first love. I asked myself this question as well. Low self-esteem perhaps, but I've just started therapy again, so I'm hoping things will get better for my mental health." Has OP considered about marriage cancelling for both herself and her boyfriend? We are not married, probably will never get married, and I have suggested couples cancelling, but he flat out said no. Your boyfriend is a child. Unless he's missing his arms, he can surely get his own plate. He's petulant and has some really weird ideas about gender roles. Does he track how often you smile at him and look at him lovingly, and how much time you do it each time? Holy crap. OP replies, "After he said that, I couldn't believe it. I do make his plate at home because I'm the one that cooks, and I serve him and our son first. I paid for our gas to go visit. I pay for my own vehicle, insurance and phone. So this gender role idea in his head is bonkers." Is there any chances that the boyfriend might be dealing with unresolved issues? You're right, he has trauma from his mother, and I feel like he hates me sometimes when all I do is work, cook for my family and take care of our child, paying for daycare and drop-offs and pickups, and staying home. He always finds something to be mad about with me. If he isn't being jealous, then he's mad I don't clean enough or want some alone time. Okay, on your side, he sounds bloody awful. Be honest, other than taking joy in your child, are you happy, content? Does he make you feel happy and supported? If not, if you're not feeling part of a loving partnership, can you move back in with your family? Will they help you get back on your feet? You need a happy life in order to provide happiness for your baby. That's how they learn what to expect. From your post, I think that you need to leave. You can co-parent, it's much better for you. Tell your family before you tell your boyfriend, they need to be involved. Choose happiness for yourself and your child. She replies, "I have family to rely on thankfully. Our lease is up in 2 months and I can get a place on my own for my son and I. We're happy a lot of the time, we don't argue every day, but once a month or so, something upsets him, something I've done. He gets quiet and I can tell he's mad. I'll ask him what's wrong, and it's something from the past he hasn't gotten over. It's a jealousy or something he's dealing with. He lost his mum and brother, he has trauma. He does not communicate his feelings to me, says he's dealing with it on his own, but he's cold and distant towards me, and I start overthinking everything about what I may have said or done. His actions tell me he doesn't care about me, and at times it feels like he doesn't love me or value me. Thank you everyone for your input. We still haven't talked, but I'm giving myself some time and space from him. Now for an update 2 weeks later. Like an absolute dumbass, I stayed. I cried my eyes out and I told him how I felt, and he didn't have anything to say, just that he's sorry and will do better. We were okay for a week. Today is our 5-year anniversary. Well, it would have been. He broke up with me today. I've had to stay home all week with our child because of a parasite and waiting for tests. On Thursday I got sick and still am sick with what feels like a chest cold or infection. The morning of our anniversary he goes rock climbing. I don't know what time he left, but was gone until noon. I was ticked and texted him it would have been nice to have help while I rested. I cancelled the reservations I made to the restaurant that we met at. When I told him this, he ripped up the card he got me, told me he's going to stay elsewhere, and we're done. He said I am miserable and just want to be sad, and that I make him pay with all the ways my dad failed me. My father could care less about me and I have some daddy issues, lol. I don't think I'm being unreasonable for expecting him to spend the whole day, or coming back early from climbing. I didn't even get a good morning, happy anniversary text, but it is what it is. Anyways, y'all were right. I knew it in my heart but didn't want to believe it. There's no coming back from this, but I'm okay. Thank you for letting me vent and for all of your advice. It's nice to come back and read all the positive support. Wow, honestly it sounded like he already wanted to break up with her and he was just looking to make it her fault. One comment says, "He sounds like a man-child. Now he's gone, I'll almost guarantee you'll start thriving. With him not around putting you down, draining your energy and self-esteem, you'll start noticing a difference." Opie says, "Thank you, just got to get over the sad part. I was the best version of myself when I met him. I've lost myself in this relationship, but I feel ready to move forward." He's an idiot and he's trying to bully you. Bet that once he sees you're chill with it ending, he'll panic and beg. Opie says, "I honestly believe we're done at this point. Done fighting, done trying to make this work. Kinda funny that our relationship ends on the very day of our 5th anniversary. I don't know how we made it this long." Honestly, it sounds like he's having an affair. He is projecting and making up reasons to be mad at you. It's how narcissists justify their own awful behavior. Opie replies, "I wouldn't be surprised. For most of our relationship, he's accused me of being sneaky or cheating on him. I have never ever cheated. I will never be a cheater because I can't imagine hurting somebody like that. We haven't been friends on social media for almost a year, and I don't know his passcode, so if he is, then so be it. I can't take it anymore." Opie explains why she was together with her boyfriend for 5 years, had a child and no marriage. "Honestly, I think it's a culture thing. We're both Indigenous in Canada. Marriage happens so much later in life in our communities and families. Unfortunately, it's said that Indigenous people attend more funerals than weddings, which is true in both of our families. We've never talked about it. He called me his wife on occasion, he's only ever been my partner. I just never see myself getting married, but now I hope to find that lifelong commitment with someone who cherishes me. One day, not anytime soon." And Opie needs to get in therapy to deal with unresolved issues she might have. She says, "I got back into therapy. I have a session this Friday, so I have a lot to say and a lot to get out. He used to be so sweet and considerate in the beginning. He used to tell me his feelings. He tried to resolve conflicts. All of his actions and words to me as of late are what he truly feels and thinks about me. I am ready to move on." Yeah, and move on she should. And like that comment said, I have a feeling she'll be better off without him. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Anyway, we're going to move on to another story. Alrighty, on relationships, this one was written by user Bullying Boss, and it's titled, "Me, 39 female, with my 44 male depressed colleague who has accused me of bullying him." I manage a team of 12 people, and last year had a 13th member added when other managers refused to deal with him any longer. He is diagnosed with depression and generalized anxiety disorder. He is morbidly obese and suffers from musculoskeletal problems related to the obesity and diabetes. When they came to me, it was because I've helped other mentally ill staff members, and I was happy to take them on as I felt I could help them. We did make progress and steadily increased their level of work. It has never reached the level considered acceptable, but I made accommodations to relieve pressure, hoping this would lead to a sustained long-term improvement. I sought out equipment to help them be more physically comfortable given their obesity. I felt we were making progress. Unfortunately, they committed a serious breach of security, sent out personal information to someone not legally entitled to have it, and I had to place them on formal disciplinary action. Since then, they've been on sick leave for over 3 months. They are now subject to attendance management procedures and have reached out to a local mental health group and advised them that I have bullied and harassed them. This bullying and harassment has, according to them, made it impossible for them to return to work. I have documented evidence that this is not true. When they were told they needed to move away from me for health and safety reasons, they became very distressed and demanded to stay with me for mental health reasons. I've signed documentation where they state I am supportive and they don't want the reasonable accommodations I've offered, like shorter days, fewer days and longer breaks, etc. I have a meeting with them and their support workers from the mental health group, and I have no idea how to handle this. So how do I handle it? I can prove they are lying, and they have a pattern of lying to get themselves out of trouble. I have no concerns about my bosses because they are well aware that this is an utterly unfounded allegation. My worry is that they are completely unsuited to the job, and because they point-blank refuse to acknowledge they're in any way responsible for the mistakes they're making, it is impossible to correct them. Yeah, this is pretty tricky and there's a lot of layers involved here, but if I was OP, I'd probably just tell my truth and let the support group handle the rest. It kind of just sounds like OP has been super accommodating for such a long time, and this colleague is taking advantage of that fact. Let's go to the comments. Ask questions, a lot of questions, in a very nice way, but a lot. Examples: I feel very confused and upset about the idea that I've been bullying or in any way detrimental to your work. Would you help me to understand what I was doing by providing some examples? Is this a particularly recent incident or change that has you feeling bullied? Because on X day you said that I was being incredibly supportive and you didn't want to stop working with me. Please let me know what changed for you. Was it something that I did or said? I was asked to help you with problem A, which we solved with solution B. I felt this was very good allowance, but can you explain to me why this didn't work for you? What would you have done in my situation? I feel we made a lot of allowances in terms of your output. If you would prefer to have the mistake allowance instead, please let me know and we can put you back on the same output as everyone else and change that back. Would that have been better, do you think? They are the one making the accusation. Make them frickin' prove it. First, does this mental health group provide legal representation? If so, you should not meet with them without your own attorney. Frankly, even if they don't, you shouldn't meet with them without counsel. You may do something that creates liability for your company. Second, keep in mind that you do not need to prove anything to these people. This is not a legal proceeding, obviously. If you're going to talk to them, start the meeting by getting business cards. Be certain you know who you are speaking with. Ask them what their goal for the meeting is. Ask them to explain what the person is accusing you of. I recommend you record the meeting, but otherwise take notes. Work to get a complete list of alleged incidents of bullying. Ask them directly if that is the complete list when they're finished explaining. If it is really just the discipline, be direct. Ask, how was that bullying? Ask what their standard for deciding what bullying is or isn't. Do they have a written definition they're using? Is it a legal definition of some sort? Figure out what conduct they are complaining about as precisely as possible. Once you get there, you explain, X was subject formal disciplinary action due to a severe breach of company policy. At this time, provide a copy of the rule or regulation or whatever he violated. If there was an email correspondence between the two of you that details this mistake, and if you are allowed to by your organization, provide a copy of that documentation showing him acknowledging the mistake. Next, take out a copy of your job description. Explain your job. Tell them that while it's never pleasant, correction of subordinates is a necessary and required part of your job. Do not provide written documentation of anything more than your job description, a copy of the rule, and any emails that X would have had access to discussing the situation. What you do provide is only for them to look at, not to take with them. Do not apologize. Do not apologize for this problem, for their time being wasted, for X's feelings, for anything. Be polite and firm. Your general position should be gathering as much information as possible, while providing as little as possible, while still explaining what has happened. This is just things I would consider off the top of my head. It is almost certainly incomplete. Again, I would not attend alone, and I would bring an attorney. Opie responds to some comments when told to go to HR. I have spoken with our internal HR, but they are terrified that any accusations of bullying a person with mental health problems could be problematic, as it's a hot topic at present. I have referred the person for counselling internally, and they have told me repeatedly, documented, that they have taken up this service. My concern is this meeting is not an internal meeting. It's with people who specifically represent people with mental health problems, and I don't know how to respectfully say that the person is lying through their teeth without sounding like a bully. To be clear, their lies aren't malicious, and I don't believe this one is either. It is something said to solve an immediate need, so in this case it's because they need to explain the amount of time they've had off sick, and admitting it's because of their own actions is too terrifying, so I am being bullied means it's something that is happening to them and they have no control over it. The reality is they do have control over it, but they are so used to being the victim in all situations that they refuse to acknowledge this is not actually true. A commenter replies, "Judging from your explanation here, it appears that you have an understanding and empathetic attitude towards this person and situation. That attitude, along with the documentation you have regarding accommodations you've offered, should go a long way in your defense. What exactly is he saying you've done to bully him? I'm not a professional in this area, I just have extensive experience working with people with mental health problems in social work and education settings." Opie responds, "He believes that by pointing out his security breach and substandard level of work, I have bullied him. He doesn't allege that he isn't doing this, just that by expecting more, I am bullying and harassing him. I am making allowances. For example, other members of staff are expected to deal with approximately 16 cases a day accurately. I am happy for him to do 2 if he does them right. Unfortunately, he can do 2 cases, but not correctly. Unfortunately, by allowing him to work at a slower pace, he believes that he should be allowed the same scope of error that someone who is working 16 cases, and as such he is being bullied by expecting him to get his 2 cases 100% right, when someone who is working 16 cases has an allowance for minor errors." She explains HR more. Yeah, HR's response is basically, fire him but don't leave us open to a lawsuit. It is not helpful because I don't want to fire him. He is not currently in a position to do his job to the standard required, but I don't want to detrimentally impact his future. He won't resign for health reasons as he feels it will prevent him from getting another job, and HR want him gone without actually doing anything. I'm stuck in the middle because as manipulative as mental health issues are, they are real. And if I wouldn't get fired for doing it, I'd post a copy of the 4-page email I got in response to my specific questions. It was large swathes of the DDA copied and pasted with vague remarks about support, reasonable allowances, and work-life balance. I can only assume they put someone's idiot nephew in charge of the email box on the day I contacted them. They are centralized and are notorious for not giving out specific instructions for fear of having them challenged. Their main purpose is to protect themselves. I have no idea how they keep their jobs, to be honest. And a last comment. Thank you. His previous warnings have been well documented and evidenced, so I'm not too concerned about legal action. I was just really thrown by the accusation of bullying and harassment, and had built up a scenario where I was going to be attacked by his advocates. The great responses like yours has put my mind at ease. It is sad that he's cast himself as the victim in all of this, but I'm determined not to be drawn into that mindset, and I won't allow myself to cast into the role of their oppressor because it's simply not true. Now for an update, 3 months later. Well, the meeting went ahead as planned, and thanks to the wonderful advice and tips from people who kindly responded, I was calm and thought I was prepared. Boy, was I wrong. My colleague and his support worker were both there, and the meeting started really well. I asked how he was doing, what steps he was taking to prepare himself to return to work, etc., and nothing unexpected came up. As arranged, I brought up the allegations of bullying and asked for some specific examples to help me understand what was happening. After worrying myself sick about this, his answer was actually pretty disappointing. He gave no examples and only offered vague explanations about his anxiety making him overreact to other people's conversations, which made him feel like he was being picked on. I advised him, and my boss backed me up, that there was literally nothing I could do about that. I patiently explained that I could not ban people from talking, and I would not sit in silence in order to ensure that he never heard anything he didn't like. My boss stressed that his poor performance needed to be addressed, and that was part of my job, and that doing it was in no way harassment. His support worker did agree with that, and we had a brief chat about how I could better communicate. To be honest, there was nothing they said that was particularly helpful, but I did agree to be mindful of their condition moving forward. Then it got weird. I asked if there was anything I could do to help him transition back into work. This normally involves a phased return, changing to part-time hours, etc. But not this time. As I was talking, he started taking paperwork out of a folder, and I should have realized something was up when his support worker sighed deeply and slumped down in his chair. My colleague requested that he be allowed to bring an emotional support animal to work with him, namely a support cat. We are in the UK, and this is not the norm, so I was a bit surprised. He had not settled on a breed yet, but was torn between an Abyssinian or a Siamese. I thought pointing out some obvious difficulties with this idea might make him realise how inappropriate this would be. For example, I pointed out that we have a guide dog in the building for a partially sighted colleague. His name is Rufus, and is by far the most popular person in the building. The dog, not the human, and they may not get along with a cat. He responded by telling me that it was illegal to discriminate by favouring one disability over another, and if a blind person could have a guide dog, a depressed person could have a cat. I moved on from this clearly idiotic point and asked how a cat would react to being placed in a pet carrier twice a day to travel to and from work. He advised me he would train the cat. My boss became very agitated at this point, demanding, "How the hell do you train a cat?" Not to be deterred, my colleague stated that in the worst case scenario, he would leave the cat at work overnight and only take him home on weekends. I asked how he intended to cope with litter tray and cleaning, etc. Given his serious weight issues, bending down to empty a litter tray would be difficult for him. He presented me with a spreadsheet he had created with a team roster for cleaning up after the cat and feeding. He had also costed out food, insurance, and the actual cost of the cat on said spreadsheet had an expected donation from each team member, on a sliding scale depending on how he perceived their financial circumstances to be. I was paying the most as I am single, earn more, and have no dependent children. The spreadsheet was quite impressive, colour-coded and everything. I politely said no to that, and he then started insisting the company should pay, as it would be a legitimate business expense to accommodate his disabilities. At this point I realised my boss was still repeating, "How the hell do you train a cat?" and the support worker was shaking his head and muttering, "I told you not to do this." So I made a unilateral decision on behalf of my company and advised him in no certain terms that we would not be buying any cats, we would not be cleaning up after any cats, because we would not be permitting him to bring any cats onto the premises. He was not happy. He complained that I was making it impossible for him to return to work. My boss took a break from his cat training mantra to say that we had perhaps gone as far as we could for the time being, and we should end the meeting at this point. As we were leaving, he did make a point of telling the support worker, "There will be no bloody cats." The support worker nodded and agreed this was entirely fair. I didn't hear anything from him for a week or so, then received another 4-week sick note from him, so I called, as per our company procedure, to check in and see how he was doing. He was still very unhappy about my discriminatory anti-cat stance and advised he would be taking it further. 2 weeks later, I received a letter from what initially looked like a local solicitor's office. It advised me I was being sued for breaking disability discrimination laws. The letter itself was filled with bizarre, mainly American legalese that seemed to be culled from Law and Order episodes. On closer examination, the letterhead had been edited to change the contact details to his home phone number and personal mobile. I'm not sure whose address he used, but it wasn't the solicitors in question. I handed it to my boss, who had also received one, so both were forwarded to our legal department. I was advised to have no further contact with him. The legal bods have informed me that his contract has been terminated with immediate effect. I'm honestly stunned as to how it turned out. I half expected him to be terminated due to the amount of time off sick and his unwillingness to address his performance issues, but I would never have guessed it would end like this. It's both funny and sad. Thank you so much to everyone who took the time to calm my nerves before the meeting. It really did mean the world to me. I mean, yeah, hilarious and sad, but I'm just more surprised at the fact that this guy lasted in this job as long as he did. I mean, he's taking sick leave for 3 months and still coming back into the office and making demands like this. God, I wish I had that perceived leverage. Anyway, guys, what are your thoughts about this one? Let me know in the comments below. Maybe you got a similar story you'd like to share. Either way, we're moving on again. Alrighty, this next one was posted in Wedding Drama. It's written by user FarCup, and it's titled, Destination Wedding for Husband's Granddaughter. He won't do anything to get his passport. Been married to my second husband for 27 years. He has 2 kids who I really like and get along with. One daughter has 4 daughters who are a bit spoiled. I make sure to give the granddaughters nice presents for their graduation gifts and have always been the nice step-grandma who is pretty much ignored by the grandkids. My husband does zero work on any gift giving or travel arranging when we have attended any of their events. That's all left up to me. We attended the weddings of the first 2 granddaughters, both of which were about 3 hours away. I arranged the trip, bought and wrapped the gifts and bought cards. We attended the event, and I was again the nice step-grandma who was pretty much ignored by the grandkids. About 4 months ago, we received a save the date card, letting us know that the 3rd granddaughter will be getting married in another country in mid-2025. I have a passport, but husband does not. I told him he'll need to get a passport to attend this. He's done nothing. A few weeks ago, I asked if he really wanted to go to this, and he said yes. I reminded him that he would need a passport, so I went online to see what he needed to get that. One item was the dated divorce from his prior wife. He said he wasn't going to get into that. I said okay and dropped the whole issue. I've been looking at airline flights and the tickets would have cost about $2,000 for both of us. The hotel would be another $1,000, all-inclusive place. The invite for the wedding is taped to the front of the fridge and I'm not going to bring this up again. If he asks, I'll let him know that if he actually gets off his butt and gets his passport, I will make travel arrangements. Edit, I forgot to mention that the wedding is on a Wednesday, which means we'll have to fly out Tuesday and fly back Thursday. I cannot believe she chose Wednesday for her wedding day. And edit 2, hey, thanks everyone for all the interesting comments. As you can tell, there's more going on than just the wedding. I'll be sure to post an update when he completely fails to do anything to go to the wedding, and therefore we don't go. Yeah, either he actually doesn't want to go to the wedding and he's just lying to your face, or he's lazy. Both aren't great. Let's go to the comments. Also, I don't know what the laws are where you are, lol, but have you seen proof he's divorced, right? Because, fine, I have no idea what date my divorce went through, but I do have the printed out paperwork in my drawer, and I just look it up. This is some bizarre avoidance, lol, and it would give me the willies, not gonna lie. Opie says, I know for a fact the divorce went through, and I saw the paperwork years ago. I'm pretty sure it was final in 1996, but I don't know the date. It was odd that he said it that way. And more on the divorce and proof. I'm an attorney. I tried looking them up online, but records that old, from 1996, aren't usually available online. More than likely it's stored on microfiche at the district court where this was entered. This will require a trip to the courthouse, filling out forms to request the old documents, etc., etc. Not difficult, but detailed and time-consuming. I'm just so tired of doing all this detailed, time-intensive bullcrap for him all the time. I'm tired of spending my time on something I don't even want to spend money on or go to. I'm going to do nothing, say nothing, and let the date come and go. However, I will now probably go look for the records just to make sure the divorce decree was entered. The kids. His kids are actually from wife number 1, who passed away before I met any of them. His divorce was from wife number 2, but I don't understand why he would put no effort into finding the divorce date or working on the passport other than pure laziness. Actually, the kids hated wife number 2. Yes, he's lazy. His kids and their spouses are very nice to me. I had a stepmother also, and I'm very careful not to try to be mum to them. I hated it when my stepmum did this. I just want to be nice, friendly, and not get in their business. Isn't that what a stepmother should do? Same for the grandkids. On why they're still married. That's a much longer post. For those of you in your late 60s, long married, you understand that marriage to a flawed person is still better than being lonely, at least most of the time. Weighing the pros and cons, he still comes up on the pro side. And yes, I do feel alone a great deal of the time. Being alone has never been a problem for me, but I still feel like being married to him. Yeah, I have a backbone, but I also have a huge heart for my husband. I have no problem telling others to F off, and I've always been tough. I think this is the turning point where I'm totally done making any arrangements to make things easier on him. One comment says, no reason why Opie can't go. She has her passport. If it was me, I would go by myself and tell everyone exactly why I was unaccompanied. Opie says, oh, hell no. I'm definitely not going solo for a step-granddaughter who probably won't even acknowledge me. If you continually feel ignored by them, stop giving. It honestly sounds like a huge expense to attend for someone who treats you that way. She says, yeah, I'm done. Now that I think about it, none of them ever reach out to me. When we go to visit his family, they're always nice, but they've never independently reached out to me one time, and all the time we've been married. Maybe they don't like your husband. He sounds kind of awful. Sorry. Opie says, Hayes, this is Reddit. I come here for the truth, not to have people be soft on me. Opie makes a mini update in the comments a couple of days later regarding her doing the work and also whether or not they'll RSVP. Actually, one person commented about the RSVP and that we would have to advise them whether we were coming or not, realizing that I had previously RSVP'd, so I have now changed my position and will be contacting his daughter to advise her of the issue. That comment is buried somewhere in response to another comment. Yesterday was truly full of example after example of me having to do everything in this relationship, carrying 100% of the mental load, and I was just done. But today is a new day, and I'm going to be a better human. Some more clarification. One comment says, I'm wondering what the appeal was here. He's lazy and can't be bothered to do F all regarding his own kids and grandkids. It sounds like he's using weaponized incompetence to get you to do everything. Why would a smart, accomplished professional woman put up with his bullcrap for 27 years? He can't possibly be that good in bed. Opie says, because it wasn't always this lopsided. After his cancer diagnosis in 2018, then chemo, stem cell transplant, resulting neuropathy and depression, he became more dependent. He's somewhat better now, but we both fell into the me doing everything pattern. For the last few years, I've been trying to break that, especially with tasks that are not physical and require mental effort. Another comment says, wow, that's a lot of left out information. Yes, for the last year or so I've been trying to get the workload more balanced, especially with just mental tasks. It's so difficult once one partner has basically shouldered the whole load. I'm starting to think that even though he said he wanted to go to the wedding, that inside he really doesn't. Therefore he's going to use the passport excuse for why we won't go. Fine by me. Yeah, I get that feeling too. Opie updates 17 days later. To all of you who commented before, thanks. This is the update, and I know I'm setting myself up to get knocked about, but this is Reddit after all. 1. I saw the divorce decree from his prior wife, so he is indeed divorced and he and I are legally married. 2. Since that post, I have told him he needs to engage in the cleaning and take care of things around the house. He is now responsible for one bathroom, and I'm responsible for the other. He actually pointed out a cleaning method to me, and I said, great, do whatever you like. He's been frustrated by the new order around here, and continues to do as little as possible. I have tried to remain cheerful and positive. 3. His daughter called to confirm we are coming. He said, of course, and later asked me, we are going, right? I said, when you get your passport, I will make the reservations. He looked dumbstruck. I told him the application has been sitting right where I told him, and he denied ever hearing me say that. He started working on the application, then asked me if he had a birth certificate. I told him, I assume so because you were born. He asked where it was, and I told him I have no idea, figure it out. He was getting frustrated. I went and fetched it from the files and angrily told him, here it is, and you can take care of this from now on. Yes, I spoke angrily. Yes, I slammed it down on the table. 4. He flipped out and threw a plastic bottle of salad dressing into the kitchen, and it broke and splattered all over the cabinets. 5, like the mature adults we are, the rest of the day was spent in silence. I went into my office and he was again glued to the damn political news on the TV, just like he has been for years. He eventually cleaned up the mess in the kitchen. 6. I refused to cook for him, will not do any of his laundry. I had just changed the sheets on the bed, and I bet they're there this time next year. I've taken up residence in the extra bedroom and my office, which are on one side of the house. And 7, I'm not sure what will come of this, but I wish the divorce from his prior wife had never been finalised. I would now be free. Financially, we're kind of stuck together, but I will work towards getting unstuck. Some more comments. Update me about if he gets it together in time to get his passport. I think someone mentioned in your previous post something about maybe telling the bride that he hasn't gotten his passport. If you're on decent terms with her, you might want to mention it to her anyway. If you don't tell her now and he doesn't get to go, he's going to tell her that you never told him, just like he denied you saying you told him before. If nothing else, her getting on him might jumpstart him more than anything you do. Other than that though, I wouldn't do anything. Good luck, enjoy your trip with or without him. Opie says, the bride has been informed of the situation because his daughter texted me later and I filled her in on the actual obstacle. She and I are on great terms, I love her, and I told her no matter what happens, I will get the bride a beautiful gift. By the sound of it, he never learned to do crap at home. Ask him if he wants to learn before he's on his own. It might not save your marriage, but you would save a life even if it's the next woman after you. Haha, he's beyond saving, and if some lady wants to pick him up later, she's on her own. I raised my child to be responsible and to be a partner in marriage. It worked. Seems you married a man-child. I hope he decides to grow up, but the chances are slim. Opie says, I did. Not sure what the future holds. Thankfully, I've learned not to let it distress me too terribly. I have my friends and my work, source of good income. Nothing sexier than a man who throws a salad dressing bottle when asked to complete a grown-up task. She replies, yeah, to his credit, he wasn't aiming at me. I admit I have thrown things in anger and frustration before. At least it was the ranch dressing, which I don't eat anyway. Congrats on your being very organised and thorough with this unfortunate debacle. Am I correct in classifying MAGA rage to him? Opie says, he's on the other side. He's been massively depressed since the election, lol. I don't give two craps about politics other than to vote. Also, instead of getting things like his birth certificate for him, if he doesn't know by now that important documents are stored in a file cabinet, either he's actually truly stupid or you married someone with a disability, and the way to find out is to ask him. So, after living with me for 20 years, is it because you're mentally deficient that you don't know where the important documents are, or are you just stupid? I mean, you're not going to solve any problems that way, but it sure as hell is going to feel good and get the point across. Opie replies, oh, mentally, I say a lot of stuff that would only serve to escalate the problem. Years ago, I moved a small 2-drawer filing cabinet into our walk-in closet and told him that one is his, and his birth certificate is in there. It's the only thing in there. You literally open the drawer, and there is one manila folder with his birth certificate. He does have ADHD and prefers not to do anything that requires organisation and attention to detail, but that doesn't mean he can't. He can, but I have filled that gap for him for so long, he has become accustomed to it. Well, that has all changed, and he's not handling it well. You have so much resentment. You need some counselling to work your way through this, and maybe need to try couples counselling. Sadly, you've enabled him for years, and he didn't know you resented him for it. This isn't to blame you, but to point out a lack of communication. Opie says, confess, this is true. Honestly, I didn't realise how much until I almost slammed that birth certificate on the table. I need to work on changing the situation and letting go of resentment. Holding on to that does no good. Well, my prior post was pretty much the start of my wake-up call, when I wondered, why am I jumping through hoops doing all the work for his passport when he's sitting over there cackling at the TV? I already have a passport. He's a grown man, and even though I'm better at paperwork, he's still fully capable of doing this. As usual, weddings just fan the flames of the usual relationship issues. Yeah, ain't that the truth? Okay, onto a final update, 8 days later. Update, destination wedding and passport, success. Again, I want to thank all of you who posted helpful comments. They really helped me work through these issues, and we've made positive progress on so many fronts. He obtained all the necessary information for the passport application and completed it. He did ask for my assistance setting up an appointment at the post office to have his picture taken and submit his application. It had to be done online, and doing anything through their website is wonky. We're going to the post office this morning. We've also had some polite, mature discussions about him doing his laundry, which he has done, and that we need to equally share the workload of the house. He had to do the grocery shopping by himself last week because I refused to go. He managed to wash a load of whites, even used bleach, without destroying any clothes. He's been doing the dishes and made loaded nachos for us this weekend. Granted, it's still not 50-50 yet, but I believe we'll get there. So, as soon as I'm done with this update, I'm going to make our resort and plane reservations. Looks like it's a go. I'm going to text his daughter that it looks like we'll actually be able to go and celebrate with everyone. There you go, he pulled through, finally. Now all he's got to do is just keep it up till their relationship's better, I suppose. Some final comments. Good lord, this is quite the redemption arc. I'm so happy for you, well done. Hope you can make sure this new start keeps rolling for the future, and you have a fabulous time at the wedding. Opie says, Hi, the path to redemption is bumpy for sure. Pleasant, persistent patience is my best tool to effect long-lasting change. That is, when I'm not so ticked I forget to use it. Damn, the bar is on the floor. The bar is now at least 6 feet off the floor. It will be raised. Yes, I share some blame for letting the situation get to this point, and I'm trying to remedy this. I do not know the backstory and thought and hoped you were talking about an elderly sick family member or a teenager. Hopi says, lol, I wish it was. It's my husband with narcissistic tendencies who has mastered weaponized incompetence living with the enabling wife, me. How's that for a description? And yet, this situation can be changed and can improve. Another comment. Yes, this is a great update. Didn't you or someone else in the comments mentioned previously an ADHD possibility? This tracks. It's a very common trait to put everything off until the last minute, then scramble. We work best under pressure, which is the most effective motivator. However, it's absolutely not an excuse to avoid responsibilities. I'm just trying to shed some light on what may be going on in his brain. It's possible that he truly wasn't trying to obstinate and wait you out until you cave. I agree with others that he will backslide, but it sounds like you have the patience of Job, to be honest, to help him get to where he needs to be. Opie replies, Oh yes, ADHD is definitely a part of this, although he can do better than he has. We just got back from the post office and his application is now officially submitted. We've definitely progressed regarding 1. Personal responsibility, 2. Sharing the load of work at home, and 3. Having a mature discussion of these issues. Now we just have to sustain this progress. Yeah, and that's the hardest part, but fingers crossed they can. Anyway guys, what are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments below. Either way, that's it from me today. Hope you guys enjoyed those stories. Thanks for making it to the end, and I'll see you all in the next video. Have a good day. Cheers.